home and installed some speakers into our living room and our kitchen. I didn't think anything about it. I was just like, okay, cool. She asked me if I wanted one for my room and I told her I'd let her know. Later on that day, I see a freaking speaker in my room. 2 days ago, I had a boy over in my house. He asked me why I had cameras all over my place. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how I found out my roommate put cameras all over our apartment and was spying on me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Listen to me on Instagram. But one day I have a boy over and we're watching Netflix. That's when he starts looking around my apartment and asks me why I have cameras installed. I was like, what cameras? He's like, all those speaker things are cameras. Don't you know that? That's when I nearly had a panic attack. He grabbed them, opened them up, and showed me the camera that was inside. Like I said, my roommate told me they were speakers and she even offered to put one in my room, which she did. That's when he told me that my roommate has been spying on me and recording everything I've been doing while I've been home alone. He then suggested we go into her room and see if she had one in there. We walk into her room and start searching. That's when I get a message from my roommate. It's a picture of me and the guy in her bedroom. And she started saying that I was stealing from her room and that she was going to take legal action. Of course, being smarter than her, I know I'm not breaking any laws. When I told her that she had been recording me the whole time and that I was the one that was going to take legal action, she told me she was sending the cops over. That's when my friend opens her laptop and finds all the videos she had recorded of me. Guess what? She had been uploading them to a website where people were paying to watch me. Part 3 is up. 3 of how I found out my roommate put cameras in our apartment to record me and sell it on the internet. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. After I found all the footage on her laptop, I went straight to the cops. The cops came back with me to my apartment, and when she arrived, they arrested her. Then she started saying that she had no idea how any of that got there, and that the guy that sold the speakers, aka the cameras, to her was just some guy that she met on the street, and that she thought she was getting a good deal. She says that he was probably the one that was spying on us. But obviously, all the proof is on her laptop. She was selling my videos on 4 websites. And guess what? She was making a lot of money. She only spent 2 nights in jail. Her dad is a pretty powerful guy, so we got her out of jail. Her parents want to give me money so that I won't talk about it again because they say that it's going to ruin her future acting career. I don't know what to do. Should I accept the money and never talk about it again? Or should I expose her? I mean, she's really not famous or anything. I could take the money and expose her later on if she does become famous. But I did reach out to all her old roommates and friends and told them what she did. One of her roommates even told me she did the same thing to her. I'm also considering getting a restraining order. What do you guys think I should do? Story time about how my roommate tried to kill my dog and blame it on me. This is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My roommate is literally the craziest person I've ever met. It's a freaking nightmare. Wait till you hear everything she's done. Her and I moved in together at the beginning of the year, so we haven't been living together for that long. But before that, I considered her one of my best friends. We would hang out all the time. Oh yeah, and she loved my dog. I had just gotten out of a relationship and I told her I wanted to find an apartment and she suggested we live together, so of course we went and found an apartment. Things were good for the first 2 months. We had movie nights, we would cook for each other, and we would just go about our business without any problems. Luckily, I work from home, so I'm always with my dog. Whenever I have an errand to run, I'll just leave her in my room and she usually sleeps. A month ago, I come home and I hear my roommate yelling at my dog. But my roommate didn't realize I was home. When she saw me, she picked up my dog and pretended that she was just joking. I did not like it at all, so I confronted her and I asked her why she was yelling at my dog. She said she wasn't and that I must have heard wrong. The following day, she went to work and left the door open. My dog was about to run out and we live on a busy street. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my roommate tried to kill my dog and blame it on me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. So my crazy roommate started leaving our front door open, knowing very well that my dog could escape at any moment, and we lived on a busy street, God forbid. So I would constantly tell my roommate to stop leaving the door open. That's when she told me that she doesn't know how that's happening and that somebody else must be doing it. This girl was literally trying to convince me that someone was opening our door on purpose. So I finally decided to confront my roommate. I asked her why she was leaving the door open and why she yelled at my dog. And then she confessed that she actually hates dogs. She thinks they're gross and they don't belong in a house. She also told me that she always pretended to like my dog so that I wouldn't get offended. I told her that I thought the best thing for us was for me to move out. She starts to cry and begs me not to leave. She told me that she'll try to tolerate my dog more. After that, she gave me a printed sheet of paper with rules on it. Basically all the things my dog can't do. For example, my dog can't hang out in the living room or even sit on the couch, which she always did. And the biggest rule of all, she did not want her in the bathroom or the kitchen. She wanted her to be in my room all day. This is where it gets scary. Part 3 is Part 3 of how my crazy roommate tried to kill my dog. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. When she gave me all the new rules of how my dog had to behave, I told her I was definitely moving out. That's when she told me that she wished my dog was dead. She told me that my dog was coming in between her and my relationship. Ew. I literally had to sit her down and explain to her that my dog is like my child. I love my dog so much. I would do anything for my dog. Then she asked me if I loved her. I was like, yes, of course I love you, but my dog is like my child. So if I need to move out, I will. Then she gave me the silent treatment. A few days later, I tell her I'm gonna go to my friend's house. I get in my car and drive away, but I realize I forgot something, so I drive back home. That's when I walk into the apartment and I see my roommate holding my dog over the balcony. She was literally about to drop her. I grabbed my dog and I ran away. I went straight to the police and I filed a restraining order. So the police went to talk to her and she told them that I was the one that tried to throw my dog over. Thankfully, the police don't believe her, but now I have to find a place to live. How am I gonna go to my apartment and get all my stuff? What should I do? Story time about how I set up my boyfriend to cheat on me so that I could break up with him. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I'm at the airport, so I'm sorry if it's noisy. My boyfriend and I have been together for way too long. When our relationship first started, I was constantly chasing him. He never wanted a relationship and basically didn't want to commit to me. So basically, he was trying to be an F-boy while he was with me. And of course, I let him do whatever he wanted because I was too afraid to lose him. I didn't want to be that annoying, nagging girlfriend, so I just never said anything to him. Fast forward 5 years. I've had a huge glow up since we started dating. I lost weight, I got super fit at the gym, like I have abs now. I opened up my own nail salon, and I even got myself a car and a house. Well, let's just say that he stayed the same. In fact, he has no ambitions to getting a better job or anything, and it really annoys me. He started talking about getting married, and I was like, hell nah. But I don't know how to tell him that I don't want to be with him anymore. I mean, I love him, but I just don't want to be with him anymore. And because I'm too much of a coward to actually break up with him, I set him up to cheat on me. I found this girl on Instagram, and I told her to DM my boyfriend. He DM'd her back. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how I got my boyfriend to cheat on me so that I could break up with him. So I got this girl on Instagram to DM him, and this girl was totally his type. Basically, she looked like me but with blonde hair. So she sent him a little DM. He wasted no time and he got back to her. That same day, they set up a freaking date. So I told this girl that all she had to do was go out with him, like meet him at a restaurant, but that was it. Little did I know that she had a crush on him. And it makes sense now thinking about it because my friend recommended her, and my friend afterward told me that she actually had a crush on him. A few days later, she sends me a picture of him sleeping in her bed without a shirt on. And she basically tells me everything that happened. So now I have all this proof. But guess what? I actually got really pissed. It broke my heart because I didn't expect him to do that. And he was totally avoiding all my calls and messages. He finally came over to my house, and that's when I showed him all of the receipts, all the pictures and messages between him and the girl. That's when he told me that she drugged him and forced him into doing it. Of course, I knew that wasn't true. Then he pulls out a ring and asked me to marry him. That's when he got on his knees and started begging. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how I set up my boyfriend to cheat on me so that I could break up with him. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. As he's begging on his hands and knees for me to marry him, that's a call from the girl that he cheated on me with. He puts the phone in his pocket and he started acting all nervous, so that's how I knew. That's when I told him to show me his phone. Then he ran to the bathroom and threw it into the toilet. Then he locked himself in my bathroom and basically begged me for 3 hours to stay with him. Told me that he would never be able to find anyone as good as I was, and that he loved me and blah 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 blah. At this point, I told him I was going to call the cops to get him out, but I just couldn't bring myself to it. I really felt bad for him. I mean, after all, I did set him up. He eventually left and I didn't speak to him for a few weeks. A few days ago, I actually started talking to this new guy. He's been super flaky, and every time we decide to go out, he always bails. So now I'm thinking maybe I should take my ex back. He sent me flowers, but I've been trying to ignore him. But my parents don't want me to get back with him. Part of me thinks that he was probably already cheating on me. I mean, he DM'd that girl really quick. I honestly don't know what to do, and I'm even starting to feel guilty about what I did. At the same time, he totally shouldn't have cheated. What do you guys think I should do? Story time about how I ended up with 2 sugar daddies that I met at the strip club. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sent to me on Instagram. I have been a tripper for 2 years. And yes, I will be referring to myself as a tripper. A few months ago, I started looking for new ways to earn money because I don't want to be a tripper for the rest of my life. Well, around that time, a group of guys came into the club. One of them was super nice and he kept tipping me all night. He literally just talked to me the whole night. He didn't even get dances from other girls and didn't ask me to do anything else other than just talk. I basically made my entire rent just from all the tips he gave me. By the end of the night, he had asked me for my number and I gave it to him, which is super uncommon. I never give out my number, but this guy was really nice. A few days later, we went out to dinner and he asked me if I wanted to be his sugar baby. I said yes immediately. Ever since then, we hang out once a week, and he pays me on average $4,000 a month. A few months into our arrangement, he asked me if I wanted to quit the strip club. I said probably not, but he told me that eventually he wanted me to. A few weeks ago, this new guy comes into the club, and he also asked me to be his sugar baby, so I said yes. This is where things get scary. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how I ended up with 2 sugar daddies I met at the trip club. Now I basically have to choose between one of them. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. So this other guy comes into the club and asks me if I want to be a sugar baby. I immediately said yes. This man owns several businesses and everyone knew him around town. A week into our arrangement, he started becoming really jealous. He was constantly asking me if I had a boyfriend or if I had other sugar daddies. Of course I said no. That's when I realized I had to hide everything from both of these guys. Luckily, the second sugar daddy traveled a lot. He would FaceTime me all the time and even ask me to turn on my location. The only reason I put up with it was because he was giving me $7,000 a month. That's when sugar daddy number 1 asked me to quit the club again. And I basically said yes because I was getting enough money. I didn't realize it then, but he basically took that as me saying that I wanted to be in a relationship with him. That's when he started wanting to come over to my place all the time and basically spend every single day with me. So I would tell him I was going to the gym, but really I was going to go see my other sugar daddy. Then sugar daddy number 2 asked me if I wanted to move into a better apartment, and he became my co-signer. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how I ended up with 2 sugar daddies and I had to choose between one of them. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I was said to be on Instagram. So sugar daddy number 2 offers me an apartment and wants to be my co-signer. And the apartment was so beautiful. It was 2 bedrooms, had a washer dryer inside the unit. It even had a doorman and a pool and everything. It was a huge step up from the place I had. This is when sugar daddy number 1 started getting really suspicious. He asked me how I could afford it. Then I broke the news to him that I had a second sugar daddy. He freaked out and told me I needed to choose between him or the other guy. I can't tell sugar daddy number 2 because he's super jealous, but my gut tells me to go with sugar daddy number 2. He pays me more money and gave me the apartment. But number 1 is super nice. But number 2 travels all the time, so I don't have to see him all the time. I don't know. What do you guys think I should do? I love my new apartment though. What do I do?
Story time about how I saw my best friend's dad on a date with our ex-friend. My best friend Alex and I are both 17 years old. When we were younger, around 11 to 12 years old, we had a friend named Lauren. Alex has a really big house with a lot of cool stuff, so every week we would go over for a sleepover in her den. It would be me, her, Lauren, and a few other girls. Lauren started saying that she had a crush on Alex's dad, which we all thought was weird, but we kind of just ignored it. However, it started getting weirder when she started going into detail about wanting to be with him and have his children. Alex finally had enough and told her that it was going too far. She told her that if she kept saying things like this, then she wouldn't be able to come over anymore. It seemed like it got through to Lauren and everything was fine for a while. We eventually grew apart from Lauren, and even though we were still friends, she stopped hanging out with us over time. She would still talk about Alex's dad though, just not directly to Alex. At one point, she even said she had given a BJ to him, but he wasn't even in the country when she said it happened. He was on vacation with Alex and her sisters at the time, so no one believed her. One day, I went to a mall kind of far away with my brother and saw Lauren and Alex's dad together. They were being extremely affectionate, and I snapped a picture of them because he's still married. This is when my brother told me that it's not our business and we need to stay out of it. Part 2 of how I saw my best friend's dad on a date with our ex-friend. I ended up telling Alex after school and showed her the picture. She immediately wanted to find Lauren and confront her, but once she calmed down, we decided to go to Alex's mom first. Her mom is an extremely calm woman, but when we told her and showed her the picture, she blew up. Apparently, Alex's dad had cheated on her mom before, and the girls he's been showing interest in have been getting younger and younger. She's had her suspicions for a while. She calls him and tells him that he needs to get home ASAP. When he arrives, she confronts him and he thinks that it was Lauren who added him, trying to cause issues in his marriage. He starts out by saying Lauren has been causing issues for years and making things up. When she told him it wasn't Lauren who outed him and showed him the picture, he flipped out. Alex called me crying and I could hear her parents screaming at each other, so she came to stay with me and my family. Alex's mom kicked her dad out, said it was over, told him he's never seeing the kids again, and topped it off by telling him that she's calling the cops. After this, he started calling Alex and she answered the phone telling him to never call her again and then hung up. This is when Alex's mom calls Lauren's mom to tell her what's been going on. Part 3 of how I saw my best friend's dad on a date with our ex-friend. Once Lauren's mom found out what was going on, she flipped out as well. She had her suspicions something had been going on with Lauren because she was being super secretive and her mom wasn't able to put it together. Alex's mom also told Lauren's mom about the stuff that she used to say. Lauren's mom searched her belongings to try and find any texts and talked to Lauren to find any evidence of their relationship before she was 18. Lauren hasn't been to school since, but she sent me and Alex texts on WhatsApp calling us nasty names and saying that Alex is going to end up a fat C word like her mom. However, Alex and her mom are both gorgeous. She also said that since we outed her relationship, she's going to out me and Alex as gigantic lesbians. We didn't get mad at her because it sounds like some pretty messed up stuff might have happened to her, and we just hope that she gets the help that she needs. Alex and her mom are doing as well as can be expected. Alex's mom got a lawyer and a therapist for Alex. Everyone at school knows what's going on and it's weird for her. A few people are talking about Lauren, but everyone agrees that Alex's dad is the piece of trash here. If they find proof that he did stuff before Lauren was 18, they're going to the cops with the evidence. Alex's mom already called the local department with her suspicions, but more proof is needed. A habit I've had for almost 3 years now is that every day I write down a description of the outfits my friends are wearing. I do this because we go to school together and I see them every day. The exception of when I've done this is when school was virtual or over summers and breaks. I've had the same friends for a while, so the data I have on some of them is dating back to when I started doing this. At first, it was an experiment to see how often people repeat the outfits they wear. If I could find this out, then I know how often it's acceptable for me to repeat an outfit. Then it became a habit and I like doing it. It's cool to see how their styles have changed over the years, and sometimes I can predict what they'd wear based on this data. I also like the routine and going over my findings. My friends have never known that I've done this. I had a friend over yesterday and I went to the bathroom while she was left in my room. I keep all my data on Google Documents and create a new one each month so I can easily copy and paste for chart making. I had left my computer open and the document was pulled up on another tab. On the original tab, my friend and I were watching YouTube. My friend says that she accidentally closed the tab and that's how she found my document. She read through part of it and got really upset, telling me that it's weird. That's when she proceeded to leave and go tell our other friends. They only think that I've been doing this for a month. Am I wrong for tracking their outfits like this? friends found out I've been documenting their outfits for 3 years. I asked my friends if I could talk to them, and over the weekend when we were all free, we talked over FaceTime. I explained to them why I started keeping track of their outfits, how long I've done it for, and why I kept doing it. I told them that I was sorry for not telling them and I didn't realize it would make them upset. I told them I'd delete the information if they like and I'll stop doing it if they want me to. 2 of my close friends on the call said that they understood what I was doing better now. They said they didn't really mind that I was recording their outfits, but they would have liked to know first. I promised to run it by them if I do something I think might bother them in the future. They asked for me to show them my data, which I did, and they asked me to send them a copy because they said they honestly found it interesting. My other friend, the one who originally found the data, said that she was a little creeped out by it, but thanked me for explaining. She apologized for reacting so strongly without giving me a chance to explain, and I told her that it's fine and I don't blame her. We're all back to getting along now. My friends are great people. They're a little weird too, which is why we make such great friends. I love them and I'm glad they're so understanding. Lastly, for the people who asked if I have OCD, I'm not sure and I won't be able to get tested until I'm an adult because it's not something my parents would approve of. Fanatic Friday, the 300-pound cannibal. On the morning of February 6, 1996, a young 10-year-old boy named Zachary Ramsey left his home in Great Falls, Montana for his walk to school. However, he never made it. 25 years later, rumors and theories have surrounded his disappearance, but the most common is that Zachary Ramsey met a brutal end at the hands of a cannibal. A man named Nathaniel Bar-Jonah was walking alongside the road near a school as a detective passed by. The detective noticed Bar-Jonah and realized that this man was impersonating a police officer by his blue nylon jacket and fake badge. When looking into Bar-Jonah's background, there was an evident thirst for blood. It started when he lured his 5-year-old neighbor to his home and tried to strangle her. He was only 7 years old at the time. When he was 12, he sexually assaulted a 6-year-old. A few years later, he tried to lure 2 boys to a nearby cemetery. Luckily, one of them had a bad feeling about it and convinced the other to leave. Bar-Jonah later stated that he was planning on killing the pair. At 18 years old, Bar-Jonah abducted and assaulted another young boy, proceeding to strangle him. A witness had seen the abduction take place and called the police. The boy was found near the point of death in his car. Bar-Jonah was only sentenced to a year's probation. While on parole, he abducted and assaulted a 9-year-old girl, throwing her out of his vehicle. This never got back to his parole officer and his tirade didn't stop there. On Fanatic Friday Part 2, the 300-pound cannibal. In 1976, Nathaniel Bar-Jonah was released from parole. In 1977, he abducted 2 boys from a movie theater, taking them to a secluded area and assaulting them. He tried to strangle one of the boys, driving off when he believed he succeeded. By a miracle, the boy survived and went to get help, leading to Bar-Jonah's arrest. This time, he was set to serve 18 to 20 years. He was sent to a state hospital for treatment. At the hospital, he talked about his fantasies about abducting, murdering, and cannibalizing children. However, a judge released him because apparently the state didn't prove Bar-Jonah to be dangerous. In 1996, Zachary Ramsey disappeared. There were reports of witnesses seeing an obese adult male following him, along with reports of Ramsey heading into an alleyway in a 4-door car running him over. Despite this, the case went cold. It's largely believed that Bar-Jonah was his killer. In the following years, Bar-Jonah continued to abduct and assault young boys in his apartment. He would also cook food for his neighbors which had strange meat in it. When he was arrested in 1999, a search of his home was completed. Police found pictures of children, journals written in code, and a human bone. He also had a list with the names of his victims, and one of the names was Ramsey's. His diary included instructions on how to cook and eat children.